The shuttle's viewport framed three moons hanging in perfect geometric alignment, each one a different size, but positioned so precisely that Julian Garrett could have drawn a straight line through their centers. Behind them, the planet Velsara turned slowly, its violet oceans catching binary starlight. Julian had traveled 6 months through jump space for this moment, missed this negotiation window, and humanity would wait another decade. The palace came into view as they descended. It didn't look built so much as grown. Organic curves and flowing architecture that seemed to breathe. Towers spiraled upward like massive trees, their surfaces shifting between green and gold. Julian checked his reflection in the viewport. Dress uniform, hair trimmed military short despite his civilian posting. He'd been a soldier before becoming a diplomat. Some habits never faded. His father's voice echoed in his memory. "You're perfect for this, son. No attachments, no weaknesses. Exactly what Earth needs." The last communication they'd had, 3 months before departure. General Adrian Cross didn't do sentiment, only strategy. The shuttle touched down on a landing pad that looked like pressed flower petals. Julian descended with Commander Nathan Vorik behind him, followed by their delegation. 8 humans carefully chosen to get Earth into the Galactic Council. Vorik had been a last-minute addition, Julian remembered, a direct appointment from military intelligence. At the time, Julian had assumed it was standard security protocol. Now, with his father's voice still echoing in his head, he wondered if there had been more to it. 3 figures waited at the far end. The princesses. The tallest had skin the color of spring leaves, black hair falling past her shoulders, and a single curved horn rising from her forehead. Golden eyes assessed him with warrior's directness. The middle princess had skin like twilight sky, pink hair in an elaborate bun with strands framing her face. Her expression was gentler, but those golden eyes missed nothing. The third had rose quartz skin, vibrant blue hair woven into intricate plaits, and turquoise eyes that held mischief. All 3 were devastatingly beautiful. "Envoy Garrett," the green-skinned princess said, "welcome to Velsara. I am Ashara, first of the Triple Crown. Imena, heart of the Triple Crown. Talis, mind of the Triple Crown." "Your Highnesses," Julian said, bowing at the precise angle training demanded. "Earth thanks you for this opportunity." Something brushed against his thoughts, like fingers testing water's surface. He kept his mental shields firm but not aggressive. "Your mind is loud," Talise said, tilting her head. "Human thoughts are colorful, different," Imena added softly. "Most species have quieter mental presences." Julian had been warned the princesses were powerful telepaths, but briefing materials hadn't prepared him for this, being observed from the inside. The throne room was vast, bioluminescent vines pulsing along walls. Court members lined the aisles, hundreds of Velsarans watching. Julian felt their attention, that pressing sensation multiplied. All telepaths. The princesses took their positions with synchronized grace, angled toward each other in constant, silent communication. "Envoy Julian Garrett of Earth," Ashara said formally. "You stand before the Triple Crown to petition for your species' recognition. Do you come with honest intent?" "I do, Your Highness." The ceremony continued with ritual exchanges and careful questions. Julian offered a data crystal containing humanity's cultural database. Through it all, he maintained mental discipline. He let surface thoughts through. Genuine respect, admiration, hope. All true, all safe. He didn't think about classified treaty sections in his secure case, economic clauses giving Earth gradually increasing control. His superiors choosing this negotiation window because Velsara faced internal pressure. The personnel selections that had seemed odd at the time. Vorik's last-minute addition, Hassan's unexpected transfer from linguistics research to fieldwork, Webb's sudden availability despite being on another assignment. His father's fingerprints were all over this mission, Julian realized with cold certainty. He'd just been too focused on the diplomatic objectives to see it. And He especially didn't think about how looking at the three princesses made his chest tighten in ways that had nothing to do with diplomacy. The ceremony ended with an invitation to private dinner. Julian followed a steward through twisting corridors while his delegation was escorted to separate quarters. The dining room was intimate. The princesses had changed into simpler garments. Ashara in deep green, Imina in flowing blue silk, Talise in pink and silver. Julian accepted wine that tasted like starlight and honey. He took a careful sip, then set the glass down. I sense you have questions beyond formal protocols. Talise grinned. He's perceptive. The dinner continued with increasingly specific questions about Earth's resources, politics, and approach to artificial intelligence. Julian answered honestly where he could, deflected carefully where he couldn't. Through it all, that mental pressure continued, not aggressive, but persistent. By dessert, Julian's mental shields were showing cracks. Hours of constant vigilance took their toll. You're tired, Emina said with genuine concern. Maintaining barriers against telepathy is exhausting. I'm fine, Julian said, though his temples ached. We can feel the strain, Ashara said flatly. It's been a long day, he conceded. Talise stood, moving around the table with predatory grace. Come. We'll show you to your quarters. She extended her hand. Julian took it automatically. Her skin was warm, smooth. The contact sent a jolt through him. Her eyes met his, smile turning knowing. He had let something slip, something about how attractive he found her. Found all three of them. They walked through corridors that seemed to rearrange themselves, finally stopping before a jade door. It sighed open, revealing a suite both alien and comfortable. Julian stepped inside, turning to thank them. All three had gone absolutely still, expressions shifting to something sharp and dangerous. Don't drink the wine in your quarters, Ashara said, voice deadly quiet. Julian's hand moved toward the concealed weapon in his jacket. Why not? Amina stepped closer. Because we just brushed your second-in-command's surface thoughts. He's pleased you made it here alive, because it makes the next part easier. Ice flooded Julian's veins. What plan? Talisa's expression was fury wrapped in control, the one where someone poisons you tonight and blames us for your murder. Commander Nathan Vorik, the man had opposed this mission from the start. You're certain? We're telepaths, Ashara said. We're certain. Someone wanted him dead. Wanted to destroy the peace he'd come to build. He met their eyes, letting them see the cold rage behind his shields. Then we need to find out who else is involved before they realize you've warned me. Imena closed the door, sealing them inside. You'll stay with us tonight. Our quarters are the safest place. And in the morning? Julian asked. Ashara's smile was sharp. In the morning, we find your traitor. Together. The princess's private quarters occupied the palace's highest tower. Ashara led through corridors pulsing with bioluminescent light, Imena beside Julian while Talise followed. No one spoke, but Julian felt the weight of their telepathic communication, silent exchanges flowing between the sisters. His mind raced through tactical possibilities. Vorik had been his second-in-command for 2 years, carefully vetted. Either the vetting had failed spectacularly or someone with authority had planted him deliberately. They reached a door that looked grown rather than built. Ashara pressed both palms against it, and Julian felt something shift, not just the door opening, but some barrier dissolving. Security field, Talise explained, keyed to our biological signatures. The suite beyond was intimate. Low furniture covered in color-shifting fabrics. 3 sleeping alcoves visible through archways, Ashara's filled with weapons, Emina's with books, Talise's with holographic star charts. Sit, Ashara said. We need to sort through what we saw. Julian lowered himself onto a couch. The 3 princesses arranged themselves across from him, close enough that their knees nearly touched his. What exactly did you see? He asked. Imena closed her eyes, brow furrowing. Satisfaction. Pride. He was thinking about poison in your quarters, something slow-acting. Symptoms wouldn't appear until morning. The wine? Julian asked. The water, Talise corrected. He assumed you'd be cautious about alcohol but wouldn't think twice about water before bed. Smart. Julian would have done exactly that. Ashara leaned forward, elbows on her knees. Fragments. We only caught surface thoughts. But there were resonances, other minds involved. We couldn't identify them clearly, but they're among your delegation. How many? The princesses exchanged glances. At least 2 others, Emina said carefully. Possibly more. 3 conspirators minimum. Julian's jaw tightened. Can you identify them if you scan the delegation? Not without alerting them, Talise said. But if you're with us, we can read their surface thoughts when they interact with you. Julian nodded, already forming a plan. Why warn me? You don't know me. Emina reached out, her hand hovering just above Julian's. May I? Julian understood. Permission to go deeper. Every instinct screamed to refuse. But these women had saved his life. He nodded. Her fingers touched his temple, feather light, and the world changed. It wasn't observation. It was transparency. Everything inside him visible. Emina moved through his memories with gentle precision. His training, his career, the classified briefing about the treaty. She saw it all. The economic clauses designed to slowly strangle Val Saran independence. The cold calculation in choosing him specifically because he had no attachments, nothing that would compromise loyalty to Earth's interests. And then she went deeper, to things Julian hadn't wanted to acknowledge. A memory surfaced, Kepler Station, 2 years ago. Julian watching his commanding officer threaten a delegation from a less advanced species with orbital bombardment, unless they accepted Earth's mining rights. The alien ambassador's 4 eyes had filled with a liquid that might have been tears. Julian had stood silent in his dress uniform, complicit. The shame still boomed. Emina felt it too, the weight of that silence. The moment he realized Earth wasn't exploring the stars to join the community, but to exploit it. She saw the alternative treaty proposal he'd started drafting 3 weeks into this journey, knowing it would end his career. The classified files he'd been compiling, evidence of other species Earth had contacted with similar tactics. Emina saw all of it, and through their telepathic links, so did Ashara and Talise. When she withdrew her hand, Julian felt exposed. The 3 princesses sat in silence, processing. You were going to betray your own government, Ashara said finally. Not an accusation. A statement. I was going to try to negotiate a fair treaty instead of exploitation, Julian said. There's a difference. Not to Earth, Talise observed. They'd call it treason. Probably. Emina's expression shifted to something unreadable. You find us attractive, she said quietly. Heat crawled up Julian's neck. Still not relevant to the immediate situation, he managed. Ashara's smile was unexpected, warm instead of sharp. Actually, it's extremely relevant, because we felt the same thing when we first touched your mind. Julian's heart stopped. What? Talise shifted closer, her knee touching his. Human minds are loud, chaotic, full of contradictions. We're used to thoughts that flow like water. Yours is like fire. It's intoxicating. This is a terrible idea, he said. Probably, Ashara agreed. But we're already committed to protecting you. Emina's hand found his, fingers interlacing. We want to know you, really know you. And, Talise added, voice dropping lower, the way your body responds when your shields are down. Julian found himself tracking the way the bioluminescent light caught the edge of Ashura's horn, the sound of his own heartbeat suddenly loud in the quiet room. Ashura leaned in, face inches from his, horn catching the bioluminescent light. Stop thinking like a diplomat, she murmured. Just for tonight. Her lips brushed his, tentative despite her commanding presence. Julian's control shattered. He kissed her back, one hand sliding into her black hair, and felt her mental presence bloom in his mind. Not invasive, welcoming. Through the connection, a memory flowed, not his. Ashura as a child, standing between her two younger sisters in an empty throne room, their parents freshly dead from plague, the weight of a crown settling on her head at age 12. I can't do this alone, she'd thought. Emina's small hand had found hers on one side, Talisa's on the other. You're not alone. We're never alone. Three minds learning to move as one because the alternative was drowning in responsibility. Julian felt his own memory rising in response. Another empty room. Age 6, his mother explaining that his father wasn't coming back. That duty to Earth came before family. The careful construction of walls around his heart, brick by brick, year by year, until attachment itself felt like enemy territory. 6 months on a ship alone, silence and stars. Carrying orders he knew were wrong, but following them anyway because that's what soldiers did. We understand, Emina's mental voice whispered. Her presence joining the connection. Loneliness. The burden of doing what's right when everyone expects you to do what's expedient. You're not alone anymore either, Talise added, her thoughts wrapping around his. None of us are. Amina's lips found his neck, breath warm against his skin. Talise's fingers traced patterns on his chest through his uniform. Through it all, their minds touched his. Three distinct presences that harmonized. Julian pulled back, gasping. Wait. The conspiracy. We have until morning, Talise said, turquoise eyes dark with desire. Boric thinks you're alone and vulnerable. Emina's fingers touched his temple again, and this time their minds linked without barriers. Julian felt their desire as his own, felt his reflected back through three different perspectives. Every touch multiplied, every sensation shared. Time became meaningless. Only sensation and thought blended together. Four minds moving in synchrony. When Julian finally collapsed between them, he couldn't tell where his thoughts ended and theirs began. Imina curled against his side, head on his chest. Talise's fingers traced lazy patterns on his stomach. Ashara propped herself on one elbow, studying his face. You're different, she said quietly. You let us all the way in. Talise laughed softly. It's unprecedented and wonderful. And she stopped abruptly, body going rigid. Emina sat up, eyes wide. What? Julian asked, combat instincts firing. Vorik, Emina whispered. He's awake, thinking about checking your quarters. Julian was on his feet instantly, searching for his uniform. How long? Minutes. Ashara said, already dressing. He's nervous. Wants to confirm you drank the water. Julian fastened his jacket, mind racing. Let him come. We can confront him. No, Talise cut him off. Not yet. We don't know who else is involved. If we move too soon, the others will scatter. Then what? Ashara's smile returned, sharp and dangerous. Then we let him think his plan is working. And in the morning, we spring our own trap. Dawn light filtered through the skylight, painting the three moons in shades of amber and rose. Julian woke with Amina's head on his chest, her pink hair spilling across his skin. Talise had curled against his other side, one hand on his stomach. Ashara sat cross-legged at the foot of the couch, already dressed, sharpening her ceremonial blade. He checked your quarters 3 times, she said without looking up. The last time was an hour ago. He's satisfied you're dead or dying. Julian's mind snapped to tactical clarity. Then we move now. Not quite, Talise murmured, fingers walking up his chest. We move when morning court convenes in 2 hours. Maximum witnesses, minimum chance for the conspirators to coordinate. She was right. But lying here while Vorik thought he'd succeeded made Julian's skin crawl. Emina stirred, golden eyes opening. I can feel your anger, she said softly. It tastes like copper and smoke. Your anger is righteous, Ashara said, sheathing her blade. We're going to need that when we face your delegation. Julian extracted himself from Amina and Talise, retrieving his uniform from where it had scattered across the floor. What's the plan? The 3 princesses exchanged one of their silent telepathic conferences. We call an emergency session, Ashara said. Announce there was an assassination attempt. Let Vorik think we're accusing the wrong people, some faction of our own court. They'll be relieved, let their guards down, and then? Julian asked. Talise's smile was wicked. Then we invite them to help investigate, put them in a position where they have to interact with you while we read their surface thoughts. They won't be able to help gloating internally. You'll hear everything, Julian said, understanding dawning. Exactly, Emina confirmed. Once we have confirmation of who's involved and what they planned, we present the evidence to the Galactic Council. It was elegant. Brutal, but elegant. They left the quarters together, the princesses flanking Julian like an honor guard. The corridors were crowded now, Velsarans hurrying toward the throne room. The throne room was packed. Julian's delegation stood near the entrance, looking disheveled and worried. Floric's expression was perfect, concern mixed with professional alertness. The three princesses took their thrones. Julian stood before them. We have called this emergency session, Ashara announced, because last night, someone attempted to assassinate Envoy Garrett. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Vorik's expression shifted to shock. Attempted? Vorik called out, stepping forward. Envoy Garrett appears unharmed. What happened? The poison was discovered before consumption, Imena said. Thanks to our security protocols. Poison, Vorik repeated, face hardening. Do we know who was responsible? Talise leaned forward, scanning the crowd. We have suspicions. Members of our own court who oppose Earth's petition. Those who believe humanity is too dangerous to be trusted. Julian watched Vorik's shoulders relax infinitesimally. The man thought they'd been fooled. What can Earth's delegation do to assist? Vorik asked carefully. Come forward, Ashara commanded. All of you. We need to verify none of Earth's people were compromised or coerced. The delegation moved as a group, forming a line before the thrones. Julian positioned himself between Vorik and Lieutenant Santos. Emina descended the dais. We're going to perform a simple verification, she said soothingly, just confirming none of you have been subjected to mental coercion. Such techniques exist among some species. He moved down the line, placing her hand briefly on each person's shoulder. Julian felt the telepathic probe each time, gentle, professional. Emina reached Vorik. Her hand touched his shoulder. Julian felt the shift in the air, the way all three princesses suddenly went very still. Their telepathic senses had caught something. Surface thoughts, clear as day. Vorik was thinking about the water, the poison, the satisfaction of a plan executed perfectly. But beneath those surface thoughts, there was something else. Structured, deliberately complex, a maze built to protect deeper secrets. But Amina's expression didn't change. She completed the line, then returned to her throne. No coercion detected, she announced. However, we did sense something concerning. Envoy Garrett, when did you last eat or drink in your quarters? I had water sent up after the welcoming dinner. Why? Because, Talise said, rising, the water in your quarters was poisoned with Velsaron nightshade extract, a slow-acting toxin that mimics natural heart failure. You would have been dead by dawn. More gasps. The court erupted in whispers. Julian's delegation looked appropriately horrified, most of them. Vorik's expression showed shock, but Julian caught the satisfaction beneath it. Who could have accessed my quarters? Julian asked. Ashara stood, her horn catching the light. That's what we intend to discover, but we wanted to ensure Earth's delegation was safe first. Actually, Emina said thoughtfully, there is one more thing. Commander Vorik, you were responsible for security arrangements, correct? Vorik nodded. Yes, Your Highness. It's my duty to ensure Envoy Garrett's safety. Then you personally verified his quarters were secure? Of course. I inspected them myself. The trap was set. Strange, Talise said, tilting her head. Because when we scanned you just now, your surface thoughts were quite satisfied, almost proud. Vorik's face went blank. I don't know what you mean, Your Highness. Don't you? Ashara's hand moved to her blade. We can read surface thoughts. Right now, you're thinking about how Earth's military-industrial complex paid you and two others to ensure the treaty failed violently. The throne room exploded. Forrick's hand moved toward his weapon, but Lieutenant Santos was faster, her sidearm pressed against his spine. Don't, she said quietly. Neither am I, Ambassador Cole said, moving to stand beside Julian. Commander, what the hell have you done? Forrick's mask finally cracked, rage replacing professionalism. What I had to do, Earth doesn't need these aliens' permission. We should be ruling a galaxy, not begging for scraps. Enough, Ashara's voice cracked like a whip. Guards, restrain him. Velsaren guards moved in, but Vork wasn't done. Earth will still come. Your telepathic tricks won't save you. The other two, Julian said, voice cold. Who are they? Vork laughed bitterly. You think I'll tell you? He lunged, not toward Julian, but toward Ashara, a hidden blade suddenly in his hand. Fast, military-trained, going for the kill. Not fast enough. Julian's body reacted before thought, but not the way training dictated. Training said assess, prioritize, neutralize the threat. Instead, his mind screamed Ashara with a clarity that had nothing to do with protecting a head of state and everything to do with the memory of her childhood fear, the weight of her crown, the vulnerability she'd shared in the dark. He moved on instinct deeper than training, his body intercepting Vorik's trajectory. The blade meant for Ashara's throat caught Julian's shoulder instead, pain exploding through his arm. He used the momentum, redirecting Vorik's attack into a throw that sent the commander crashing to the floor. Guards piled on immediately. But Julian was staring at his shoulder, at the blood spreading across his uniform, and feeling something strange through the pain. 3 voices in his mind, simultaneous and panicked. Julian, Julian, stay with us. We can help. Let us help. It was Ashara, Emina, and Talise, their telepathic presences flooding into his mind. He felt their fear, their rage, their desperate need to keep him alive. And beneath it all, something else. Something that felt terrifyingly like love. I'm okay, he said aloud, though his vision was starting to blur. It's just a shoulder wound. You took a blade for me, Ashara's mental voice was shaken. You barely know me. You took a blade meant for my heart. The thought came from all 3 simultaneously, wonder and disbelief mixed together. You like us that much? Julian laughed weakly. Apparently I'm an idiot. Then the world tilted, and everything went dark. Julian woke to warmth spreading through his shoulder. His eyes opened to find himself in a chamber with walls covered in living vines that pulsed with soft green luminescence. Imena knelt beside him, both hands pressed against his wounded shoulder. Ashara paced like a caged predator. Talise sat cross-legged at his feet, telepathic presence wrapped around his mind. Easy, Amina murmured. The blade was coated with a paralytic. I'm neutralizing it. Ashara was beside him instantly, lifting a cup of water to his lips. Vorik, he managed. Secured, Ashara said. Under constant guard. The other 2 conspirators. Talise's eyes opened, troubled. Forik's thoughts are locked down tight, military mental conditioning we didn't expect. Julian processed that. Earth doesn't train standard personnel in anti-telepathic techniques. That's intelligence service, black operations level. Talise's brow furrowed. It's not a shield like yours. His is a labyrinth. He's been trained to think in recursive loops. We can see the loops, but we can't reach the center without breaking him. Which means this conspiracy goes higher than we thought, Ashara said. Why did you take the blade for me? Julian deflected. We need to focus on the conspiracy. They can't leave the palace, Ashara said. We've sealed all exits. Then we intercept their communication, Julian said, sitting up. The conspirators know Vork failed. They'll panic, try to reach out for orders. Emina placed her hands on his shoulder one final time. Warmth surged through him. When she pulled back, he could move his arm. All Earth communication is encrypted, Ashara said. Julian smiled grimly. Which I have the override codes for. Your terminal is in your quarters, Imina said. I'll retrieve it. Julian placed his hand in hers, feeling her presence slip into his thoughts. She found the memory of programming the lock. Got it. I'll be back within the hour. She left with 4 guards. Ashara began checking weapons. Talise's eyes were distant, monitoring telepathically. The court is in chaos. Lieutenant Santos wants to interrogate Vorik. Ambassador Cole is composing a formal apology. Julian's chest tightened. Good people, betrayed by their own commander. I'm going to destroy whoever ordered this, not just Vorik. Whoever gave him his orders. Ashara stopped, studying him. Even if it means becoming an exile, you'll never be able to go home. Home is a place that sends assassins. Julian met her eyes. That's not worth keeping. Something shifted in her expression. You really mean that? Every word. Talise opened her eyes. You're planning to stay on Velsara permanently. If you'll have me, he said simply. Ashara laughed. Julian, you took a blade from my heart. You think we'd let you leave? Is that your warrior's instinct talking, or something else? The 3 princesses exchanged one of their silent conversations. Something else. Imena said softly through the link. Something we've never felt before. Like being set on fire. Talise finished aloud. Terrifying and exhilarating. Consuming, Julian said. Exactly. Ashara was suddenly close. We've known each other less than a day. I know that I was ready to die for you. That's insane, Ashara whispered. Completely, Julian agreed. She kissed him, fierce and desperate, her telepathic presence crashing into his mind. Talise pressed against his back, arms wrapping around his waist. From the palace, Imena's presence wove through it all. When they broke apart, Julian was breathing hard. That we're bonding, Ashara said quietly. Really bonding. Permanent. You're ours and we're yours. Do you want this? Talise cut him off. Forget the complications. Do you want us? More than I've ever wanted anything. Then the rest is details, Ashara said. Imena's presence blazed brighter. I'm coming back now. I have your terminal. And Julian, welcome home. When Imena returned carrying his terminal, she took one look at them and smiled. Finally, now let's catch some traitors. The secure terminal sat on the low table. Julian's fingers moved across the interface. There, he said, pulling up the lugs. The 3 princesses crowded around him. Most of this is routine. Julian scrolled. Wait. He highlighted an encrypted packet sent 30 minutes after Vorik's arrest. Military-grade encryption. Who sent it? Ashara asked. Dr. Hassan, the linguist. Talise leaned closer. It's going to a relay station in neutral space. Whoever he's reporting to doesn't want Earth knowing. Black operation running off the books, Julian said. Amina's fingers tightened. Hassan is thinking very loudly. He's terrified. Waiting for a response. Something about a failsafe. His training isn't as advanced as Vorik's, Talise added. He's support personnel. His mental discipline is breaking under stress. The palace shuddered. Alarms wailed. The detention level, Talise said, eyes distant. Someone detonated an explosive near Vorik's cell. Julian was on his feet. They're trying to kill him. Ashara tossed him an energy blade. They ran through corridors, guards falling in. Talise fed information telepathically. 2 targets. Hassan and Webb, both armed, calm. Suicide mission, Julian said. They burst into the detention level. Smoke hung in the air. Hassan and Webb stood before Vorik's scorched cell, weapons raised. Stand down, Julian called. It's over. Hassan's eyes met his with certainty. That's why we brought insurance. He tapped his wrist. Julian's terminal projected a holographic face, hard features, military bearing, cold eyes. Envoy Garrett, the face said. I am General Adrian Cross. Your father. Julian's world tilted. Beneath the shock was recognition. Of course! The personnel selections, the time his father had orchestrated this from the beginning. Clever. Using your own son as the envoy. You were always expendable, the general said matter-of-factly. No attachments, perfect deniability. If you died, Earth would have justification for invasion. If you'd succeeded, we'd have economic control. Either way, we win. Why the poison? Ashara demanded. Why not simply fabricate an attack? Stage an incident? The general's smile was thin. Because fabrications can be disproven, but a high-profile diplomat, dead in alien custody, killed by a substance native to their planet, that's an undeniable act of aggression. The Velsaran government would deny it naturally, but Earth's population doesn't understand telepathy or alien customs. They'd see one of their own dead and demand retaliation. The politicians couldn't ignore that pressure even if they wanted to. It's cleaner than a staged attack. No loose ends. No manufactured evidence to unravel. Julian's military training recognized the logic even as it sickened him. His father had always been a strategic genius. That was what made him so dangerous. Except I didn't die. Exposed to whom? The general's smile was cold. Earth's government will deny everything. And I've already sent the relevant files to every major news network on Earth, every political faction, and the Galactic Council itself. Julian's breath caught. You're exposing your own conspiracy? I'm exposing theirs, the general corrected. The politicians who thought they could hijack military intelligence operations for their own profit. This was supposed to be Earth's strategic expansion, controlled, methodical, sustainable. Instead, they turned it into a smash and grab for corporate interests. They compromised decades of groundwork for quarterly earnings. The general's eyes hardened. I built the infrastructure for humanity's future among the stars. They wanted to strip mine it for short-term gain. So yes, I'm burning them down. The investigations will gut the current administration, expose the corruption, and when the smoke clears, the military will be the only institution with the credibility to rebuild Earth's interstellar policy. My way. The right way. Hassan, Wed, Julian said. The general's using you as scapegoats. We know, Webb said, voice shaking. He has leverage on both of us. Families, debts. Julian saw another path. General, I have a counteroffer. Interest flickered in his father's eyes. Hassan and Webb stand down. Vorik lives to testify. In exchange, I'll work with you to ensure those files reform how Earth approaches first contact. And what do I get? Credit. You become the whistleblower who exposed corruption. The general calculated. Julian could almost see the gears turning. You'd work with the man who tried to have you killed? For the greater good. A long pause. Then the general's expression shifted. You've learned something after all. Fine. But understand this. I'm not trusting you. I'm using you. You'll have handlers, oversight, deadlines, fail to deliver, and the next set of files I release will be about your alternative treaty and your intimate diplomacy with the Velsaran royalty. Your career won't just end, it'll be a cautionary tale. Julian's jaw tightened, but he nodded. His father would always need leverage. Stand down, the general sent to Hassan and Webb. Missions changed. You testify. Full cooperation. I'll protect your families. Hassan and Webb lowered their weapons. The hologram flickered out. Guards moved in. Julian stood motionless. Ashara's hand found his. That was either brilliant or insane. Probably both. They found a quiet antechamber. Julian collapsed onto a bench, the three princesses settling around him. What happens now? Now we present everything to a galactic council, Ashara said. Earth will gain provisional membership, Talise added. Heavily monitored, but membership. And you? Emina asked. Julian thought about Earth, then about the three women surrounding him. I testify. I help rebuild Earth's diplomatic corps. I work with the general long enough to ensure the reforms stick. He paused, and then I come home. Here, to you. You're certain? Ashara asked. This bond is permanent. I don't want to walk away. Emina's hand found his. The council hearings will take months, and when you come back, Talise said, you'll be bonded to 3 telepathic princesses. You'll never have privacy again. I know, Julian said, smiling. Sounds perfect. The 3 princesses laughed. Then, it's settled, Ashara said, pulling him up. They returned to the throne room. The Galactic Council assembled via holographic projection. High Seer Keith stood at the center. Julian took his position, the 3 princesses at his side. Equals. Distinguished council members, I stand before you to present evidence of a conspiracy that threatened the fundamental principles of peaceful first contact. He spoke for an hour. When he finished, silence. Then High Seer Quef spoke. The council will deliberate, but humanity has shown us something valuable, not perfection, but the courage to expose and correct its own failures. That is the mark of a species worthy of joining our community. The chamber erupted in debate. Julian focused on the 3 presences in his mind. Welcome home, Julian Garrett. Our human, our bond, our love. For the first time, Julian understood what home truly meant. 6 months later, Julian stood on the landing pad watching a shuttle descend. The 3 moons hung in the evening sky. Ashara stood to his left. Emina to his right, fingers interlaced with his. Talise pressed against his back, arms around his waist. The shuttle touched down. His former delegation emerged. Santos, Cole, Dr. Kim. They'd all testified, survived, and returned for the formal treaty signing granting Earth Provisional Council membership. Ready? Ashara murmured. Oh. Julian felt the bond pulse with warmth. Ready. They walked together, 4 minds moving as one. Behind them, the palace's bioluminescent vines glowed brighter, responding to the royal bond. The galaxy watched. Humanity learned. And Julian Garrett had found home.